today I'm going to talk about foods and medicines, or some traditional and some that you can just pick up at the grocery store. I'm trying to use what I grew in my garden, and some of the stuff. The only thing I didn't was sweet potatoes. I didn't grow this year because my slips wouldn't work. So we're going to start off with making root vegetables, and we have the salmon. So this is the butternut squash that we're going to be using, but we did a practice run yesterday, so she's going to be cutting the other half of it and using the other half, so not to waste. And the thing is that when you make root vegetables, you can start cutting and cleaning, put stuff in here. When you do root vegetables, you can make a lot. Since you're students, you can maybe pool money together and do like a little cooking thing and cook extra, so that when you come home from school, or if you're studying, you could just pop things in the oven and let the oven do the cooking and eat foods and have leftovers in the refrigerator. So that's what this workshop's going to help you to do. So she's cutting up the butternut squash, and you could just cut it singly. You're going to get hurt like that. Okay. And so she's going to cut them into pieces and lay them on a tray. So the butternut squash it has a nice sweet taste, and it has a nice colorful. It's a nice colorful vegetable, so it's really good for like the beta carotene. It has a lot of nutrients in it, and it has those warming properties. So for fall and winter, these are the foods that are really good for. You have to go faster. Anyways, these are really good for, like you'll get them right now. You can go to a farmer's market and get a whole bunch of them, and they store really well during the winter. And these are, our ancestors used these, and when you store them, you make sure that you put them in a dry, cool, dark place, so they won't, like sun won't erode it, and you don't want it to be in a hot place, or it'll go bad easily. But anyways, this is one of the vegetables. There's many different types of squash, so we just chose this because it's the squash I like. Okay.
Elaine, is there a connection to traditional values with squash? Is there a cultural connection to this food?
Yeah, because our people always grow the corn beans and squash because they keep well it's like all across the Americas. You can find even far deep into the South, there's so many different varieties of squash that you can choose from, and that they grow well in hot climates and medium climates as you go on. I don't know how far north it goes, but I don't know how far north the squash grows, but I do know that I grow a lot of it here, and people seem to be growing squash because it stores well. You can smoke it, dry it and preserve it that way, or you can leave it whole. You can can it, and I use it. You can make soups with it, or even like here, like the vegetables. You can make dehydrate it to rehydrate for use. Here, put this one up there next. And we're putting salmon. It's a sockeye salmon. You just got to throw it on there. And because it's going to be like a one dish food. So far you have the salmon, the sockeye salmon. You could use any kind of fish or any kind of meat, maybe chicken or. Anyways, I have some Brussels sprouts that I recently picked in my garden this morning. And so we're going to use that. Everything's pre-washed, so it'll be a really nice, colorful thing. So here, I'll just sprinkle this out here, and you can just place it how you like. She's very neat. And then we're going to use some sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are a little bit tougher to grow because they're actually a food from the South, and you can start them earlier in your house, and you have to start them by potato slips, and that I'll show you after when I get back to the table that you can look online to how to start sweet potatoes, and you just stick them in water, like with toothpicks, and let the water nourish the potatoes, and it's going to start eyeing and growing the plant. And those slips are what you take off and you put into the water to help grow. In the south, they have longer growing times, so they could start it right in the garden at any time, but we start ours in March here, so that you do have some potatoes at the end, and they grow a lot, an abundance of food.
And for your seeds and stuff that you grow, is it seeds that you've gathered from the year before, or do you buy seeds, or where do you get your seeds from?
I've been getting seeds for many years from Aguizasne, and I get some from here, and people trade seeds, and we're looking at true seeds that are like, they call them heirloom seeds, seeds of diversity, something your grandparents, great grandparents, your ancestors carried down. So we try to get the best of those, and then to learn how to, like the Brussels sprouts. I never gathered seeds yet, but I have to look into that, how to gather seeds. And for the beans, you leave, like say the green beans, the yellow beans, the pole beans, or whatever, you leave, you could pick and eat the fresh food during the winter. I mean, during the summer, and then during the winter, like you have the dry seeds. You can make baked beans, and you save seeds on the pods for yourself. I have a display there in back of me. After I'll go over it in a lot better for you to see it, what you do. And we have here, like, we're using olive oil, and we're using some spices that you could just put salt and pepper if you want. So she's ready to brush on the oils and sprinkle that.
So Elaine, could you tell us a little bit about, I know you had mentioned beans and you had mentioned squash. There's the notion of the three sisters. What does that mean, the three sisters? What's that connected to?
Well, if you look at it, like in our creation story, Sky Woman came down carrying all the plants and seeds that we need to sustain us here on Earth. And it's just part of nature that we have natural seeds, and they grow well together. The corn goes up tall, and there's a certain bean that grows around it, around the stalk, that you start a little bit later, and the squash that goes and covers the ground. It protects it from drying out from weather and the sun, so it protects the ground from weeds too. And also there's raccoons that seem to like the corn, but they have to get through the pointy squash, so it makes it a little bit harder, as I see. But raccoons they want to eat too, so we have to try to watch our harvest, so they don't get all our corn. And I have some corn that I picked from the back, and I have some squash that grew, and I also have some beans in the back there. And I also, whatever I have, like with medicines and stuff. So right now, she chopped up all the vegetables, and she laid them out on a pan and she's just putting olive oil on it. And then she's gonna put a little bit of spices just to flavor it up on the salmon. And
What
then,
kind of spices are you using?
I bought one. It's a seafood. It's actually it's a fish seasoning, and it smells like mustard and different. There's a big list of it on here. It's a mixed variety. You can use any kind of. You can use rosemary or any spices that you like that'll flavor. That's good. Okay, now I'm gonna tip here. Preheat the oven. I'm supposed to. I forgot. Push bake 350. So bake 350. Start. And then this is what she made. How old are you? 13? 13-year-old student from survival school made this. And all you have to do is bake it. So you just throw it together, let the oven cook it. Go ahead, put it in the oven.
So how long would you cook it for?
I would look at 45 minutes or even 20 minutes. We cut it usually you can cook your meat with your vegetables right away. You know, like you could put it in together. If not, you could let your vegetables cook. And if your meat only takes 20 minutes, you don't want to overdo your fish because it's a little bit. You want it nice and juicy and tender. Okay, now that that's in there in the oven, I'm gonna put the screen here so that I can get to my vegetable pounds.
Okay, sure.
Okay, how is the
Good.
like this, all right?
Yeah, it looks good.
Can you lift your screen just a little bit so we can see the fullness of the shelf? Just a little, yeah,
Like that.
perfect, thank you.
Be able to see the table, right? I'm looking at the table.
Okay.
Oh, I see, okay.
Okay, so you can turn it a little bit like this. Okay, what we were just talking about, these are things that I got out of my garden this year.
Oh, wow.
And I have some downstairs. And see, this is the sweet pumpkin for pumpkin pies. And it's all these are heirloom, except this. I'll go over it after. But this one here, when you cut it up, and it'll store, if you put them separate in your, like in a nice dark dry place, a cool dry place down in storage, and you don't touch them, don't let them touch because they'll humidity next to each other. You leave them a space between, and you let all your squashes and your pumpkins sit together, like sit apart, you know. And when every now and then you come down and you look at it, and if it starts to bruise, then you start cutting it up. And if you want, you can go pick them up, pick them at farmer's market, but just be watching because you don't know how they're handling it. This one I handled like a baby. And when I cut it open, I'm gonna save the seeds. You could save some seeds for replanting, and some seeds you can just wash it and put it on a roasting pan with a little bit of salt, and you can eat it. And it high nutrients on the pumpkins. Okay.
Can I ask before you move on, how would you prepare that for a pie?
Oh, okay. Well, I would just cut it out, take all the seeds out. You can put it in a roasting pan and put it in the oven with a little water. It'll steam cook it. Then you take it out, cool it down, drain the water off, and then just scoop it all out and then follow your pumpkin pie recipe. And what I would do is like put maybe 1.5 to 2 cups of pumpkin, a cup of milk, an egg, and butter, recipe, like your spices, and just blend it all together, and that's your pie filling. And you can make a pumpkin pudding with it too. So anyways, you can make a pumpkin pudding with it too. So that way, if you want to eliminate the use of flour and pie crusts, and you can make breads and cookies and, you know, anything that muffins. So that's with that, and it stores well.
How long does it take to get to that size?
Oh, geez, I harvest this maybe, okay, when did I plant it? I probably planted it in May, June, July, August. By September, I was already taking stuff out of the garden as they were ripening. So, and then you're gonna have, because you have several plants and several pumpkins, you just bring it in as is. I just harvested one last week, 2 of them, a little one and a bigger one. So they come all different times, and just wipe it up and put it away, you know, for future. This one here, I have no idea what kind of pumpkin it is. I mean, squash it is. I had a squash and it was either a butternut or a spaghetti squash. And you know, it started rotting inside of my, or whatever, one of the squashes that start rotting. And I said, oh, I got too bad. I lost track of it. So it was in the winter. So I just threw it out on the side of my house in the garden. And in the springtime, when I was gardening, I start clearing it. I had planted carrots and eudidiontus, the medicine, you know, for babies. And it just start growing and just came over, and you know what, I let it grow, and it was a good choice to not weed it out because I have about 20 of these and it just filled my front yard. It just kept going and going. So I have 20 of these now. I get to taste what it's like. And then also next year, I'm going to try to plant them and see if I'll get the same variety. Because if it was a mix, then it will go back somehow to its parent, one of the parent varieties. Okay. And this year, I planted in the back around my corn, and it got really fat. And that was the butternut squash. So I don't know if this is supposed to be heirloom butternut squash. So all these seeds I'm going to keep, and I keep them in envelopes, and I write what they are. Now, zucchini in the summertime is a nice cooling summer plant. So when you're picking them and they're small and they're juicy, you have to eat them right away or else they'll start rotting. But when you leave them on the vine for a long time, they become almost like a squash. So you can store it longer. This thing is like a squash, and I have a larger one downstairs, which I'm going to cut up when I do use it, and I'm going to save the seeds because that first one, they're from heirloom seeds, so I'm going to save them. All of them, they'll save the seeds. And then this was a different kind of zucchini that I was eating that when it was smaller, like they're smaller, they're juicier, and the skins are soft, but here the skins are tougher, so they can last and store longer. And they're a little bit bigger, and the seeds are bigger, but you can cut them down, and you can do the same thing. You can roast them, you can bread them and fry them, you can make a zucchini bread, zucchini cake, if you have the ingredients with it. So this is really nice foods that you can have for the winter. So if things get hard, we got these foods that we can eat that are very nutritious, and they're our cultural foods, that we can grow our own and store our own. Some people grow in pots, and some people, wherever you live, you can put pots in a sunny window, in a balcony, or in a yard. Community gardens and gardens in your house. I have them wrapped around my home, and I have several gardens out around. So these are a few of the squashes that I do have. Okay. Okay. Now some of these this is from my garden. My corn, I had blue corn, and I was growing it, but I lost the seeds. Somebody stored it in a shed, and the mice ate it. So I, last minute, running around, and I got some seeds from my neighbor, and this is the corn that I got. And because he kept all the good ones and he put it away, and he said, well, these are they're small, but they still grew nice. So I have a crop of these, and I had to kind of race because I noticed that they were coming down. My plants were coming down. The raccoons were starting to get at it, so I had a race of time for it. Now, when I harvest this, it had the skin, the husk on it, and what I did is I pulled the husks off, and I took all the silk off, and I dried the silk, and the silk can be used for like a kidney bladder tea, where you can, if you feel like you're going to the bathroom too much, you feel cold, or you feel burning or whatever, you can drink the silk as a nice tea for the kidneys and bladders, and it'll help to regulate it. And if you're cold, you feel cold, and so you could add a little bit of ginger with it, anything that's warming, a little cayenne pepper if you want, cinnamon, like a warming tea, add dandelion leaves or whatever. So I keep that. And then these husks, people braid it. You can make a rug or mats with it, and baskets. Anyways, you can do whatever. Now this here, I would husk it off. It's dried. It's really hard. I would husk it off, and I could just grind it into a flour to make like cornbread, or even like pan bread. the cornbread is not, it's like a dumpling kind of, you know, we mix it with kidney beans. And then the flour, you can bake with it, and it tastes really good. It has a nice flavor. So some of my cooking workshops, we replace white flour with this corn flour to make recipes, and it was really nice. And it stores long. And our ancestors had these buried in the ground in their crates, the wood, big wood crates or whatever from the trees. They hollowed it out, and they had all this stored. So this you take it out, I don't know how, you know, 10, 15, 20 years, whatever, how many years, and it's still good because there's no oxygen or light in it to start break down and dry it out. But today we have Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers that will work just as well in our modern time, and it's good to go wherever you want. Okay, these
So
are
Elaine, how would you prepare the corn to make it soft? So say if you want to use it in a soup, or if you want to, how do you soften it?
okay. Well, then if you want to use it in a soup, what I would do is I would boil water, and I would take like a hardwood ash, maybe maple or whatever hardwood ash, and boil the water, throw my corn in it, and drop in a container of sifted hardwood ash, and it works to break down the skin off of it. And maybe it takes about 45 minutes, and you start testing it and checking to see if the skins are coming off easy. And then you rinse that, and I would rinse it outside, because if you do it inside, you can clog up your drains with hardwood ash. So I would rinse that outside and keep rinsing it, and then dry it on a screen with a cover over it so it won't be bird feed. That's what, if you leave it open, then I have a lot of blue jays and cardinals out here, and you know, they'll have a picnic. So then once it's sitting out there drying, probably about a week or so, you can grind that into a corn. But if not, if you want to, you can either grind it into a corn, or you can put it back into water, like after you drain it, and you put it into water and you boil it, and it's going to cook into a hominy. And throw all your, when it's like almost done, you throw all your vegetables in and let it cook.
I guess it's like you said, it's a hominy corn then. So when people see a hominy corn, that's what it is. It's essentially washed corn then.
Washed corn and cooked. Yeah, they make the hominy. I canned some of these before, and it was easier to make, and to make corn soup with, or even if you just want to open it as like instead of potatoes, you want to use your corn. You can use it many different ways. Okay, and anyways, this stores long, and this was a lifesaver. And our ancestors never just had enough food for the year. They had abundance, and they would store it so it compiles. So if there's any times that are hard, you dig out your storage. So like I said, you can use these Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers that'll keep your foods for 40, 50 years, you know. And here with the beans, like the pole beans. With the beans, now I have several beans. I have this Mohawk bush beans. This is the green beans, and what you do is you're gonna get it in. You let it dry on the pod, let it dry like this, and then you pick it, and then let it dry a little bit longer. Then you're taking it out. So these are the seeds. These are Mohawk bush beans, and these are the seeds for it. So when I plant this in the ground, I'll have green beans as a green juicy vegetable for the summer when it starts, as soon as it starts growing. And then the end of the season, I'll just leave a batch on. So I'll get my seeds, and if I have enough, I can make a baked beans with it and have seeds for my next garden. And it's the same thing with this. This is the yellow beans. And these are the seeds that I got out of it. And I have a little bit more that I have to go through. and like I can add them, I can make soup with it, I can make baked beans, and I could have some extra. And what I like to do is I like to pack some away so that I always have about maybe 5 of these or 6 of these in storage, so that if I have a bad crop the next year, I can pull out and I'll still have. It's kind of like food security. So the yellow beans, all you do is just open it up, and you get your seeds out of it, your seeds or your beans to cook. So there's 2 things that you can do with all these beans. And here's my pole beans, the pole beans that climb up. These are very old also too. They're heritage seeds that you can pull up. And this one got a little bit fluffy because it was out, I left it out on and it rained on it. So, but there's some others here that are more drier. And the same thing with that, I save some for seeds, as you see, and I can cook some right off the like green beans and make myself a nice boiled dinner during the summer, and dry them up, have some extra dry beans, and make myself some baked beans. So that's like food that you grow by yourself. Okay, so my corn, beans, my squash. This one here, I had picked the plant over there. Can you give it to me? Go around, watch the wire. I had picked this plant. It's called sunchoke, Iroquois potatoes. They call it artichoke, Jerusalem artichoke. But the plants grow maybe about, I have the highest ones look like they're like about 8 to 10 feet tall. And they're part of the sunflower family. I should have picked this morning. But this is the yellow flowers that grow, and see it has like the leaves like a baby sunflower. And these are called, I would say like the wild potatoes. And once you plant this, it just spreads and spreads and spreads. So it likes to take over. So it needs its own space. And you usually like to box it in, or it's going to keep growing unless you eat them. And they're taste like potatoes, but they're not starchy, so they're really good for people with diabetes. So I was given a batch of this when I was in Aguzasne. I took a course from First Nation Technical Institute, the Kanien'kehá school, and their teachers brought some in, and I kept it, and boy, I've been spreading it around all over, giving it to different people, and you got to eat them or they're going to take over your yard. Okay, the Iroquois potatoes, and they're indigenous to here. These garlics, well, these are the small ones, but here's like the larger ones I saved. These are to eat, but I saved the larger ones that you stick in the ground in the fall. Now I'm going to be planting these soon, so if anybody wants to start a garlic garden, you can plant it now. And I like the hardnecks because they store longer and they're easy. You can batch them up and tie them. And anyways, you put this in maybe like a raised garden, or you can do them in pots, but they're easier in the ground because you don't have to take care of them. Anyways, a nice fertile soil, and you stick these in maybe about here, about maybe 1.5 inches. And because the snow and the rain is going to settle it down, and I top it with leaves, dry leaves, and well, so cats don't get at it. I also put like a chicken wire over it because we have cats out there that like to try to use my gardens as a litter box. So anyways, in the springtime, you're going to start seeing the shoots coming up, the garlic starting to grow. And once they're tall, well, it would be really taller, you're going to see scapes that come off. They're curly. You could eat those, and you could cut it, so then it'll give more energy for the bulbs to grow. And then as soon as you start seeing a couple of leaves, 2 or 3 leaves start to go brown, it's ready. Because if you leave it in longer, the paper is going to come off. So you want to have this paper. And if the paper comes off, then you can can it, you can crush it, dehydrate it. You can make garlic pickles, or you can make crush it and put it in olive oil and freeze it. And you could just take a cube out, like in an ice cube tray, and cook with it. But that's if the skin comes off. And if the skin doesn't come off, it's going to store long for you. So you can always, you have to fall grow it. There's others that you can grow in the summer. There are different kind of garlics, but I like these.
Can you grow it in can you grow the garlic in a pot?
Yeah, you can, but you have to watch that it doesn't, you don't overwater it, and it doesn't dry out, because you need to keep that, you got to keep checking on it. When, like say, when it's starting to thaw and the spring comes out and you see them coming, you have to just make sure that they stay slightly watered, not overwatered, sludgy, but, and that's like really this, you can take garlic and put it in honey and have like a honey garlic, and it's really good medicine for drying phlegm in the lungs, and it's antiviral, antiseptic. It has a lot.
Well, you mentioned that a little bit about medicine, but what about your other foods? Is there other things you put into your medicines or that you use in a medicinal way?
Oh yeah, I have a lot of coming. I have a lot.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then yeah, we're gonna pull in some medicines with that. In also too, while I ate my bigger onions, the onion seeds, these things, I got heirloom seeds, and you stick them in the ground, and only if you start by seeds in the ground, you won't get it. You have to start them earlier. So I start them in pots in my house, and then I transplant them, and if it's good to put them in pods, you can plant maybe 3 or 4 seeds in each pod, and just bunch plant them, and they grow really nice. And you want to make sure that just the roots in the ground, because if you plant this, it won't grow, because just the root goes in the ground, and then you're going to see your onions on top. You can almost leave them alone, because if you overwater them or put dirt over them, you won't have a good crop. So onions are really good to antiviral. My mother, when she would get a cold, as soon as she started getting a cold, she would make an onion sandwich. Slice out the onions on bread and butter with salt and pepper, and that was her remedies. You know, everybody has their own. Potatoes. Any potatoes that you can cut that chunks into chunks and put it in a dirt, in a little hole or a raised garden, and you're gonna get your own potatoes. And the reason I left the dirt on is because it stores longer. So I put this in a box, and it has like the dirt on it, and I make sure that it has a little breather, and it's in a dark place. And I try not to store it with onions, because onions have a let off a chemical or whatever that'll make the potatoes eye. So I have a blue potato and a regular potato that I like. My turnips didn't come out nice this year, but I'm still going to eat them. I have a lot of them. I'll throw them in a soup, or I'll just even cut it up for a vegetable. So, but sometimes you have a good crop and sometimes you don't. This was mine not. But I want to show you. Thomasina, you mentioned, can I have that? Thomasina mentioned something about the language nests. The young mothers with their preschool children that are in the Mohawk Immersion, the mothers are involved in that. They started nice gardens in the back, raised gardens, and look at the carrots. I went and helped them.
Oh my God.
I went and helped them. So they gave me this, and I said, this is going to be the star attraction of the So I guess, see, and this is the first time this garden was ever used, so the garden was rich and full of nutrients, so it did good. I'm not showing you my carrots didn't come like this. Okay, so these are just like simple things that you can do, and let the gardens work for you. You know, you just put it in and make sure that it has a little bit of water and a lot of nutrients, and you can put feed in maybe several times, maybe about at least 3 times the growing season, so that way, because it eats the nutrients. And if you're just watering it, it's just like you're just drinking water all the time. You can eat food, so the vegetables also need food. And I'll tell you, it's such a grounding experience to work with the earth, to work with these vegetables, and when you see these plants come in, and it's so beautiful to see, you know.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm imagining, well, when I was a student, I guess like I didn't have access to a lot of land like you would. So you were talking about this like prize winning carrot and the ground being so nutritious and whatnot. What would you suggest for, I guess, people who are having like, balcony gardens or indoor pots to keep the soil really rich?
Yeah, well, you would still have to, because I do grow some stuff in pots, like some of my herbs and spices, and they do need to be fertilized extra. So you would just take a handful of fertilizer and put it in your garden. You know, well, I use my chicken poo and my green vegetables, and I kind of mix them, and they turn to real good nutrients. But you can go to the store and get an organic fertilizers and just mix it in. So that way it's being fed, your garden's being fed, and you have, I have water my garden, I have rainwater, but then I also have, I fill my I try to water them in the evening because there's not so much chlorine in the water. So if you can find that. There's another thing that I like to always, you can get this at the bulk barn. It's wild rice. I like wild rice soup, wild rice, like a nice vegetable mix, and you could even make like a rice pudding with it. And so long as this wild rice stores long, I put it in here and it stores well. I like to soak my wild rice before I cook it because it takes less time if you soak it overnight and then cook it the next day. It cooks really well. So I like wild rice. We don't grow it here, but I believe our ancestors used to in different parts of Turtle Island grew a lot of wild rice. So I like this. I have to buy that. Okay. Right. Okay. Now we're kind of you know, like the berries that you're picking during the winter time. You have that berry piece up? And the whole tray maybe. And all that tobacco. Here's somewhat, well, like I said, I got a lot of squirrels and raccoons in our yard, and I had to fight. They ate a lot of all my sunflower seeds, but I got this, I chopped it, and I still have some left. And I could get some more seeds from around town. The sunflower seeds, these ones are not much of a food, but we do have like, you can, if you grow your own sunflowers, you can harvest it, take the seeds off, and you can roast it. It's high. It has a really lot of protein in it, and nutrients for your body. It also it stores well too. And I just went in the back yesterday, and my raspberries are giving a second fruiting. So I just cut this to show you that you can have an edible garden, like edible landscaping with perennial foods. I have apple trees, pear trees, plum trees, and cherry trees. And I bought myself a canner many years ago, like a pressure canner. So I pressure can my pears from my garden and my apples. I can make sauces or slicing it. So if you plant fruits and vegetables that come back every year, like perennials, you can have like your free food every year. So I have raspberries, strawberries, all the fruit trees, asparagus. It comes up in the springtime, and it'll regrow for you. It takes maybe about 3-4 years to start really, you'll be able to harvest it. But once you plant it, you always have it. So it'll come up in the spring, and you go there and you keep it well nourished and fertilized and a lot of sun area, and then you'll notice it grows into big bushes. So if you look into perennial gardening, that'll be a lot less for you to, you know, to buy and grow, a lot less work, because it's going to be coming up. Like the Iroquois potatoes comes back all the time. And then you have, you know, all those fruits and some vegetables. So then they have the regrow ones. You could use your celery, cut it and put it in water. It'll kind of regrow. So you can look up plants that regrow for you, and perennial vegetable, fruit and vegetable gardens, and you'll come up with a big list of good. Oh, I have blueberries too. Blueberries in the front. So my blueberries, I freeze them, and I make some blueberry jam, and I'll eat them fresh. And the 4 bushes give me a lot, and then I go pick up more. It's not really that hard, but I have chickens. I had turkeys and meat birds, and there are in my freezers and everybody's freezer. And then I have chickens, so I get my own eggs, and I make sure that they're eating like good organic grain and not those pellets, you know. So, and when the chickens get a certain age, I can just butcher it and have soups and stews or whatever, you know. Okay, so that's like kind of like food sovereignty and that. Now what I have here, we're in fall time, and there's cold and flus coming up. So peck right out from my garden, I have pine trees, and this is the pine tree, and this is it's our kind of our based on our constitution, under the great white pine, the tree of peace. And it has the 5 needles representing the 5 nations: Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Seneca. If you look on the 5 branches, these are used in several ways. These branches, you can make a tea out of it. You can make a tea out of the bark. You can make tea out of the needles, and they're high in vitamin C, and it helps with the immune system. So you can drink some of these teas, and it's nutritive too. So it nourishes your immune system. I dry them. Like you can dry them for the winter, or pick it fresh. I like to pick it when it's at its fresh growing peak, the new branches, because all the nutrients are like freshness is in there. And you can boil it like a tea. You can boil it in a big pot and take a bath with it. You can dry it and smudge with it. So it comes in, you can do a lot of stuff. This one here is elderberry. Well, the berries fell off. I have an elderberry tree. I have a couple of them, one in the back and two in the back and one in the front. And this is also, it's a nutritive for the immune system. So right now, if you can all go to like a herbal store, like a reputable herbal store, and pick up, you can make cough syrup with the berries. But you have to know, if you grow your own, it's better to drink the tea, make a tea with it. You can't eat the berries, you can't eat the stem, the leaves, or anything. Those are all very toxic for your body, but it's the berry juice that are really, really good. You can make cough syrup with honey, a little bit of water, and a little bit of water that just covers over the pot. And like you have your berries and you cover over the water and you simmer it, maybe like double, and you simmer it for like an hour, and it's going to start bringing up the medicines from the berries. And then you strain it off. When you figure that it's all extracted out, you strain it off, and you add honey, like a pure honey to it, and you put it in a jar in the fridge, and you can take that all the time. You can take that every day, because it nourishes the immune system. As so you can make a tea, a honey extract. There's I don't know if I have it here. Okay, another one is that you can make a tea out of it that's built for the immune system. Now, if you are sick, you could take echinacea. it's not, it kickstarts, it kind of like gets your immune system going. You can just take it when you're sick, so it helps to get your immune system going to help you to heal whatever's going on with you. So that when you can use the root, oh, here it is. I found a flower. The leaf is, I mean the flower head too, the little petals here, you can make a tea out of it too. It's not as strong as the root. And when you plant this in your yard, they're beautiful. So people just think it's, oh, you got nice flowers, but the root is actual medicine. So in the springtime, maybe towards like the middle to the end of April, you're going to see these flowers come up. They're called coltsfoot. And they look like dandelions, but dandelions aren't out at the time, and the stems are different. They're more spiky, and it only comes up the stem and the flowers. Well, this coltsfoot is an expectorant for the lungs. It helps to clear any debris, mucus, phlegm, excessive out of your lungs. It protects your lungs. So when you have a cold and flu, like say a flu, and it feels like you don't want to get it to your lungs, like especially right now, you would make a tea. I make tinctures too, because some people are not good with teas. They, leave it. Ask me like about 2 weeks later, it's still in that jar. Is it still good? I know, throw it out. You know, you drink it 2 days, maybe 3 days. You put it in the fridge when you make your tea. So for them people, they're wasting teas, they're wasting my plants, so I make tinctures for them so they can carry that around for 5 years, 3 to 5 years, and it won't go bad. So that's a really good coltsfoot for as an expectorant. Then after the flower is done, and then here is your leaf. Your leaves are good. They say for asthma that you can roll it up and smoke it. I never tried it. So, but I like the flower head anyways. Some people said they make the teas with the leaves. And in here is a wild rose hip, and it grows in the back of my yard. It's a nice, beautiful pink flower that turns to the rose hip, and that's high in vitamin C too. So that's, you just take the berries and you can make a tea, crush it and make a tea out of it. And it's really good. You can mix it in with other plants too. It's high, it's really rich in vitamin C, so it's immune enhancer. Anybody know what mullein is? Mullein, it can go pretty tall. Should drink some of these, my God. I'm phlegmy. Feels like that. The dampness is starting to come in. Huh? Anyways, this mullein it protects your lungs. It clears it. It's a mild expectorant. It helps to moisten and nourish the membranes, the lungs. And this is, it's also, I put it in my antiviral teas, mix it with coltsfoot and different medicines that I put into tea bags. This one you can get up north in the bogs. It's kind of like in where it's like boggy and it has like mossy on top, and this comes sticking out like this, and it's called turtle socks. And this is very good at antiviral, as all of these are, like they're good for antiviral, antiseptic. When they said smallpox came in, this was one of the recipes that they used to help to clear the smallpox, which is bad. So it's turtle socks. So you can use that for colds and flus and antivirals.
Elaine, I have 2 questions. I'll just ask the last one because you're talking about it right now. But can you repeat the name of the tea that can be used as an expectorant?
Oh, well, the plant.
Yeah.
Coltsfoot, COLTSFOOT. Mullein, MULLEIN. Those are like, they'll clear out your lungs. and it's really good now. I made a tea. I used a lot of I didn't bring it out. I need a spoon or something. Oh, I got it. Clothes is good. This I made an antiviral tea, and I put all the big stuff in there like licorice root. I even put fennel in there. Have peppermint. I have the turtle socks, mullein, colt's foot. Did I say licorice root? Yeah. And I even some of the thyme. Your spices, like the thyme, is really good. And I made an antiviral tea, and I helped. I gave it to 2 women here that got COVID, and they were so really down. And when I gave them this, it helped them out. And one woman said, "Boy, it worked. It cleared her lungs. She was spitting up." She was spitting up quarters. So it really helped with that to clean your lungs, because it seems to attack your lungs. So this, and
Can you get any of the colt's foot or mullein at a herbal store, or?
yeah, you can call around and look, and they can order it for you too if they don't have it. But I know that some of the natural remedy places, they have they already have like tablets of this antiviral. It's there's different, I guess, different ingredients, but the woman that I was talking to said it works, because she had a big pile stockpiled up there, and it was just going down, and the clients came back and they said it really worked for them. So it's protecting your lungs, it's protecting your organs too. And see, I have this here, and I had another one. Oh, right here. This is a bigger one. This is called bone sit. I don't know if you can see it, but the leaves, the stem goes right through the leaves, and this is dried and it's altered. So you have a stem going this way, and if you see the leaves, there's no break in it. Like usually leaves, they go like this onto the stem. This one goes, it's like this, and the stem goes right through it. So this is called bone sit. And it's not for like broken bones or anything. It's when the flu gets into your bones and you're sore on the inside. This helps to push the heat out, and your pores open up and you sweat your fever out. So bone set is really good if you have a fever that you can't break. Your fever will help you to cook and get rid of the virus. But if it persists too long, then bone set is a good remedy to push that fever out of you. Okay, so these are just some of the things that you can.
And for what's the best practices, Elaine, for drying out the plants or the flowers for teas?
Oh, geez, I used to, when I first started picking medicine, I used to get a pie plate and put a paper towel on it and put it in there. Label it what it is, because sometimes, it's like, what is that? When because some of the leaves look the same, so you have to label it what it is and just dry it. And now I use screens. I have big drying screens, and this bone set, what I'll do is I'll just hang it upside down. I'll just hang it upside down. I have stinging nettle that I'll hang a bunch of and hang it upside down, or I have like a clothes rack, and in the clothes rack, it's a foldable clothes rack, and I just put all my plants on there or hang it down. So it's all in one area, and my screens. So it's, they'll dry up for you too.
Okay, and somebody just had another question back a bit ago about squirrels. What do you suggest about keeping them out?
Well, out of my garden, they eat all my strawberries. My neighbor's dog is always chasing them. You have to, my sister, when she plants, and that was happening to me, they were taking my corn out, they were pulling it underneath one by one. So I had to fence it off and block it for them, so that they couldn't get in, make a little teepee over that until they're bigger, the plants. And then once I plant extra stuff, some for them, some for me, because they're gonna come and eat. That's their nature. I have oak trees, and I have a walnut tree back there. some kind of round nut tree back there, and I forgot the name because I don't use it. I let them, and they're always bouncing on the roof of my chicken coop. And they have, anyways, there's a double shell over it. So I don't know, plant some nut trees, throw some, I don't know. It's hard to keep them out. All I do is I just make little teepees over my plants until they are big enough so they're not going to be trying to pull it out for a corn or like the little corns or your pole beans too. You have to watch because they'll steal your pole beans. They'll dig it out and they'll eat your berries. So I don't know.
Is there any, do you know of any local or online, like Indigenous owned stores that have herbs or things that you order from? Do you have any suggestions for anyone to be able to get them if they can't get the plants themselves?
Yeah, well, if you look in like wherever their location is, they just have to look for natural herbal stores in Montreal, or like say on Girard. There's one on Girard, Monkland. There's one there. It's called Sauvage. But you have to look in your area where you could find it. You know, just look online. Everything you can find anything online. And
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so this is another one of those. You can make all these teas separate and just get to, when you're taking teas, you just make sure that you're just having enough tea to like you're drinking teas and your body doesn't have a reaction to it. It's like even with food, some people can't eat pineapple, some people can't even eat I knew a woman who couldn't even peel potatoes. She could eat it, but she couldn't peel it. So there's allergies in kiwis, that peanuts. So even with this, with the herbs, with the medicines like that, you would try one tea at a time and see how it reacts. Then you can mix it in a blend. But I didn't have any so far. I've mixed this and nobody had a problem with it. But I saved this one for the really serious flus that are out there right now. So it's nourishing, and being careful, I guess, you know. Any more questions?
I don't see any more questions. Have you presented all that you wanted to present, or is there anything else you wanted to present? The garlic question. Let's see. What was the garlic question? Somebody had asked.
Can we plant garlic in a pot?
Yeah, you can, but you have to really watch it. That you don't dry it out or you don't overwater it, and that it's nourished. You know, like you can do garlic in a pot. You can go online too for like you can go on YouTube and learn how to grow garlic. And there's always somebody willing to teach. It's so funny, you know. You go online. You don't even have to pay a course. You can find everything online. So it's just make sure that you don't dry it out and you don't soggy it, because it doesn't really like to be wet. It likes moist to dry soil. You can but always keep at it. You want to check to see if it's.
We're making teas when you dry out your plants and whatnot. I'm sure it might be different for each type of plant, but I guess where would you go about finding information on how much, plant to water, the ratio there is like, does it matter really? Is it just like a question of potency?
I use my finger. I just push my finger in the dirt. And if I find it's wet, I don't water it. If I find it's going dry, I water it. And every plant is some, like the lettuces, and there's plants that really like water. Here, can you get me that? There's some plants that really like water and some plants that like a little drought. So it's getting to know the characters of the plants. And here I brought some of my plants inside, and I have a sunny window that I like to put in. I have kale, collard greens, Swiss chard, a different kind of, I have some parsley, sage. different kind of herbs, and you can get a pot like this and just sprinkle a little bit lettuce, and you can grow food right into your house. This is kale, and what I would do is just cut like this, and it's going to keep growing. You have it a little bit longer, and if you want it to start some new fresh ones, you just drop a little bit of seeds, so you can get yourself an indoor garden in a sunny window if you have a patio or I used to have it hanging in my bedroom window. Now I have I winterized my front porch as a sunroom, so that I have a lot of indoor vegetables. I tried potatoes, and I had little potatoes in a big tub that I got at Walmart, and I put potatoes that were eyeing in there, and I got potatoes. So what I did is I added about 2 inches of water, dirt, put my potatoes down, and layered the dirt on it. And when it started coming out, I'd layer a little bit more, coming out a little bit more. So as it got bigger, when it starts sticking out of the pot, I let it grow, and all inside I had a lot of potatoes. I was really surprised that you can grow food in your house. You can grow potatoes, and you can grow anything. You can have a pet cherry tomato or a tomato plant. I was seeing different people, we're coming to that point where we may have to learn how to garden in our homes.
Are there any plants that you would help filter the air in the house naturally?
I think all of them. I always like plants because they let off oxygen, like the trees, like we're related to the trees. They breathe oxygen to us, and we breathe carbon dioxide, and they need it and we need it. So the plants are the same thing. The plants will filter our air, clean our oxygen, and give us clean.
Okay. So do you have any recommendations, Elaine, for any books or websites for people to learn about these plants?
Yeah, you can look up, but look up the area. Look for a book that covers your region to learn about the plants. And then as you go on, you're getting to learn about the plants. You can go look online. You can buy a book and learn it. And the more you read it, the more it observes it. And you can go on YouTube and foraging for wild foods or foraging for medicine. And the YouTube, the guy, he's pretty much local. It looks like it's Northern New York or even Ontario. And you can they have the same plants, just, right over the border.
Okay. So another question that they have was, how do you prevent fruit flies in the house when there's so many plants?
The fruit flies will not come into plants. The fruit flies will come into fruits that you pick from, say like shut my phone off. Anyways, just open it and tell them I'm busy. Anyways, I brought fruit flies in with my big, I went to a farmer's market, and when I got in, there was a lot of fruit flies, and my sister gave me this one idea. She says, you take a little bowl, you put apple cider vinegar in it, and you cover it with saran wrap and puncture holes. And she showed me, and there was all little fruit flies in there. They get in the little holes, but they can't find their way out. So it worked, and I tried it, and it worked really good.
Okay, great. So, and when you're bringing in outdoor plants, aside from changing any dirts, is there any recommendations to make sure that there's no bugs, and also that they can survive a transition into the house?
Yeah, well, when I dug this, I dug out of my garden, and all the other ones, like the Swiss chard and collard greens and the kales and other spices, I dug them all out, and I put them in. I dug them out before it got cold, so it doesn't start getting cold, so I brought them out in maybe about 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and they kind of will, and I just watered it, and I just add a little bit extra fertilizer, and they came back nice. They're nice and crisp,
So it's the same soil that you just brought from outside?
Yeah, and I don't have bugs on there. I'm really happy.
Okay, good.
But I did buy organic dirt. I don't know where I got it from, but I had little orangey color mites on it, and I just had to keep killing it. And it was coming. I had threw pepper seeds and different kind of seeds I was growing, and I was noticing, and I had to keep killing it. I made a mix. The mix wasn't working. I used neem oil and some of the mints and the citrus, like essential oils in water, and I sprayed it, but I find that I just took a little Kleenex and made it pointy, and they have such soft bodies and they were dying. But then I had to keep on going until I got it outside, and then the other bugs come around and they eat them. I have a lot of ladybugs, and I had grasshoppers, and all different kind of beneficial bugs were outside doing the job. So, but when I had a lot of grasshoppers, so they were all in my garden, so they're eating those. So when I brought it in, I didn't have any problems. So, and we're almost finished with this. How's it going? Okay, is it ready? I'm gonna take it out. Anyways, now I have one more thing, like I just wanted to show, because I was a student. When I took acupressure, I was taking anatomy and physiology and acupressure at the same time, and they were two big courses, and I had so much work to do with the anatomy and physiology, my homework, and that, like, it seems like now I was like overstudied, and I couldn't retain anything. I was like, I couldn't do anything. So I made myself a cedar bath with sea salt. And I went in there, I cried. Oh, how am I going to do this? And I cried. And when I got out, I went right back to work. So our medicines really help us. So this is cedar that you can pick, and you can make a tea out of it, and you can boil it in a big pot and put branches in there and take a bath with it. And it cleans stagnant energy. And it works. So I was able to get back to work and get out of my little stuckness. And then the white pine, you can smudge with this. You can take a bath. And right about now, if somebody starts to feel off, they're maybe starting to get a sniffle or stuff, boil water and let this aroma fill the room, and it helps to clear up your sinuses, like you're breathing in the smells of these, and they're really nice. This is, my sister grows this. It's like the buffalo sage. It's not the white sage from the south. It's from the west area. And she grows it in her yard, and it comes back. It's a perennial. It comes back every year. So she trades with me, and I burn it too, and it's also cleansing, and it makes me feel good. I had to smudge before I did this workshop because you guys made me nervous thinking about it. and this one here I grow myself. It's sweet grass, and I grow myself. So my sister and I trade it. So this is also a nice aromatic smell, and I have it hanging all over. I love it. Yeah, different.
Do you think you could grow that indoors?
Grass?
Well, like the sweet grass, could you manage it if you can pull off potatoes like in a bin?
I never tried it, Thomasina. That would be like a really good project for you. I never tried the sweet grass. I have it grown in my yard. So it's on the side, and I make sure it's like covered, so nobody can bother it, like mow it down. So they've grown really long, and I've been digging up parcels and giving it to people because they grow and they spread pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any suggestions for any kind of medicines to help with anxiety and depression, especially with this time of year going on?
I like, there's St. John's wort that helps with a mild depression. It helps to calm you. Who is that? Come in and wait. Okay, it helps to calm you. And there's also valerian root. So like if you're overthinking and over processing things and you can't get to sleep, valerian root will help you. It's like a sedative, where it'll help to calm the central nervous system, where the mind, the body will just calm down. And it's also used for body pain. But I like chamomile tea. I like lemon balm tea. And then there's another one, it's called holy basil tea, that is calming. There's a lot of stuff that you can take nourishing. And if you're thinking, what happens when you're studying all the time, you're kind of injure the spleen a bit. So sometimes it's taking a break, going for a walk, doing something else that you love, then getting back, taking that bath and crying. That helped me.
Is it safe for teenagers to use those medicines, like the St. John's wort and the valerian and the different ones you had mentioned?
Yeah, but if they're on some kind of medication from a doctor, you don't want to double, you know what I mean? So preventative is that if they can take that, so they don't have to go and do that. But you know what? Emptying the mind, I find really works. So meditation is, if they can do meditation like a yoga class, because it puts you back, because our anxiety and our fears and all that, it comes from overthinking. So when you meditate, it clears it out. And I'm talking from experience. Believe me, I had a lot of years of going to school and a lot of years of different happenings in my life. And I find that letting things go and just doing things for me helps. You know, having my downtime and putting things on the side and just say, okay, this is for me. I'll get back to it when I feel a lot better. And
There's another question is there anything to help with allergies?
allergies, when I think of allergies, I think of cleaning the liver. You go and you clean and you nourish the liver, so that way your liver, it takes in toxins and it breaks it up. It makes clean blood that goes to the rest of your body. So if you're eating bad food, you can change your diet. You can, I'll be right back. Okay. Anyways, you can, yeah, you can change your diet and exercise, because exercise it helps the blood circulate all over. So if you have a clean liver, clean blood, and you're walking and your circulation's going good, allergies are, you'll have better things for allergies. But then if, like, I can't drink milk, I can't drink almond milk, and then there's Beano, but why am I fighting? My body doesn't want it. So what I do is I just stay away from that, and I find an alternative, maybe almond milk or whatever. You find an alternative to what you're allergic to. And if it's like, say for some people are ragweed, sometimes they say drink stinging nettle tea to help. So you can look it up. You can look at that, because allergies, it's all different. People have different allergy reactions. And you know, I mean, I could touch stinging nettle, I could touch poison ivy, and it doesn't bother me. But some people end up in a hospital with poison ivy. You know, I got
Okay. Okay, so it's 12:20. I know that we had booked until about 12:30. So I guess if you wanted to show the finished product, then we could take a look at that, and we'll wrap up the session in the next few minutes.
Okay. Well, it could stay a little bit longer, but this is her roasted vegetables. Can you see them?
Okay, nice.
And you know what? She's only 13, and she did.
That's good. That's really, really good. So,
Yeah. So.
okay. So, well, again, thank you, Elaine, for your wonderful presentation, and it's really appreciated. It's really an appreciative learning for us, and you know, thank you for all the people with your wonderful questions. And yeah, so again, Yalagoa, Elaine, and you know, we appreciate everything that you've shared with us today. I'm glad you were able to touch on the foods, but also to go to the medicines as well. It's a really good learning, and I think that we need more information like this to be sent out to the world, so that people, you know, we're realizing more and more that as Indigenous people, we have lots to give to people. We have lots to give to the betterment of this world, and you know, and especially with this time of year of harvest, and when things are starting to wind down, it's important for that information. So thank you again. It's so appreciated.
And they can also look into their own communities for their medicines, because different region and different knowledge, you know, there's so many different medicines and foods out there that we need to get back in touch with. So our DNAs will be the same as the DNAs of our foods and not genetically modifying.
Exactly.
Getting heirloom seeds.
Exactly. So again, thank you. And I don't know, Thomasina, if you had anything you wanted to say before we finished. Yeah.
I just wanted to echo, I guess, Terry and Yawako, Elaine, very informative. I hope you'll come back and maybe we could talk more about seasonal like tea and things like that that you can prepare on your own in your house. If you're ever interested, we'd love to have you back.
All right.
Yawa.
Thank you for having
Okay,
me.
so again, thank you to everyone for coming, and keep your eye out for other activities that'll be coming soon from First People's House. And again, Elaine, thank you to you and your wonderful assistant, and we'll be in touch with you very, very soon.